if I told you joy is not something you find, but something that you remember? What if I told you that even in the darkest, messiest moments of your life that you have an inner wizard, a part of you that can create magic, that shift perspective and choose how you show up? And what if I told you that the rose-colored glasses that you think you lost, that they're still there? You just forgot that you were wearing them. Well, today's guest has lived multiple lives. She's reinvented herself over and over and over again. She's faced uncertainty, loss, and hard seasons. And through it all, she's held on to one mantra: everything is always working out for me. And now she's a children's book author, a life and executive coach, and someone who believes that we all have the power to create something beautiful no matter what. So if you have been through Reinvention, hello. If you're in a heavy season, if you've forgotten what magic feels like, well, this conversation is for you. So stay with me. Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast, the season of healing intentionally. I am your host, Nyomi, and I am so glad that you are here. This season, we are slowing down to go deeper. Every Monday and Wednesday, we're creating a space of intentional healing, authentic conversations, and the kind of self-love that transforms from the inside out. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself intentionally is the foundation of true transformation. So whether you're on your own journey of rebirth, navigating life transitions, or simply choosing yourself, this is your safe space. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's heal together intentionally, because you deserve to embrace that beautiful person that you are. Now let's get started. All right. Hey, my beautiful people. It's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi here, and welcome back to the Season of Self-Love podcast. Well, we are in 2026, y'all, and we are deep in the theme of reclaiming Unashamed, coming home to yourself without apology. And today is Wisdom Wednesday, and oh, this one is so special. This one is for anyone who's been through reinvention. Anyone who's navigated uncertainty, anyone who's walked through heavy season and still trying to remember what joy feels like. Because here's what I know. Joy is not something you chase. It's something that you remember. It's something that's already inside of you. You just have to give yourself permission and the access to it again. And today, guess, she's going to remind us how. So today I am joined by someone who radiates life. Like you can feel it through the screen, through the phone, through the energy. Her name is Terry Bean, and she has a debut children's book author, Abracadabra, a speaker and a life and executive coach. Now, I'm going to tell you about Terry. She has one of those voices, the kind where you just want to keep listening because it feels so good. She's been told that she has a voice for radio, and honestly, after talking to her, I believe it. But beyond that, Terry has lived a life, y'all. She's reinvented herself multiple times. She's built businesses, navigated crashes, moved across the country, and through it all, she's held on to one mantra. Everything is always working out for me. And now she is back in New York caring for her mom, launching her first book and spreading magic, wisdom, and joy wherever she goes. Let's bring Miss Terry to the stage. Welcome to the Season of Self-Love. Welcome. How are you?
What? Nyomi Banks, I have to tell you, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I have to say to you that you brought tears to my eyes. Just the intro is just tremendous, really beautiful. And, it grounds me to understanding, right, the power that we have, and that I'm so excited to share with you today. So thanks again, Nyomi, for bringing me on.
You are so welcome. Thank you. And one thing that I do, especially with our listeners, and I say our listeners, because once you come into this space, once you come onto this platform, it becomes ours because you are now my teammates. You are now my sister. This is what we do here. And so I want to say that I actually had a chance to meet her last week.
We did.
Right. So we were supposed to actually do this last week twice. This is third time's a charm. Third time is a charm.
Always.
Yes, always. And so the second time that we tried to make this happen, there was something that was going on with the tech system here. And so she was able to see me, but I was not able to see her. And what I love about that, we don't understand what's happening. We don't understand what's happening, but sometimes things are not aligned to where it's supposed to happen at that right time. Mm-hmm. And today is truly meant for us to be in this space together. And I'm happy for that. I'm truly happy for that because I think the energy was just so strong on Friday that it just wasn't allowing it to happen, that we needed to be able to talk to one another. So when I say that you have a voice for radio, you do. It was so smooth. I think we talked for at least 45 minutes to an hour.
We did. It's so funny. And yes, I hear that a lot. And voiceovers were, I dabbled in it a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's just so fun because if you look, when you said she's done so many things, my resume is just absolutely tremendous. It's more like, what haven't you done? Which is what a lot of people ask me. But every little thing has brought me to a point where I realize that it's all in the journey. It really is all in the journey and how you look at things. So yeah, Friday didn't work out, but guess what? We knew it would. It just was a matter of when. So instead of getting super frustrated and, kind of riding against it, right?
Right.
No. Okay, great. We're going to have a great conversation right now, just you and I, one-to-one. And that's exactly what happened. It was beautiful.
Yeah,
it's meant to be. It always is.
It is. So listen, so usually what we do, Terry, is even before we get into the conversation, we kind of like ground ourselves. It's really quick. It's nothing really deep, just to, mellow us out a little bit. Before we get into it. I remember when I first started the Season of Self-Love, I was nervous. I remember I used to be, okay, we're going to do this. I was doing it all. And then as the years went on, I said, okay, let's do this. And, the guests really loved it, because it kind of, made them comfortable, and as we go on, it's like, okay, let's just make it 60 seconds, really quick, easy. And let's do it. So that's what we do right now, to get into the topic, and then we go for it. All right. So listeners, you already know what we're going to do. So if you get yourself comfortable right now, so wherever you at, if you feel like closing your eyes, you can do so. If not, you're more than welcome to keep those beautiful eyes open. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in through your nose and release slowly through your mouth. Now place one hand on your heart. I want you to feel that beat. This is your magic. This is your power. Now with your next breath, I want you to breathe in joy. And breathe out heaviness. Now I want you to breathe in possibility. And breathe out doubt. Now with that next breath in, I want you to breathe in belief that everything is working out for you. Now breathe out fear. Now I want you to whisper to yourself, I remember the magic within me, and I reclaimed, and I am unashamed, and I am joy. Now take one deep breath in. And when you are ready, gently open your eyes. All All right, my beautiful people. Well, welcome back again. I want to thank you all for just sharing this space with me at this moment in this time. And if you're new here, this is again something that we do every episode. We used to be every Monday through Friday, but every episode just to help ground us, just to get into the topic at hand. All right. So Terry, before we dive into your story, I want to start with a warm-up question. All right. Here it is. What's one word that you want listeners to feel after this conversation? What's one word that you want the listeners to feel after this conversation?
Word that keeps on coming up for me is powerful.
Mm. Mm.
Powerful.
I love that. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write that down. Powerful. I'm going to write that down.
Awesome. I can expand on it, but I'm going to wait for your next question.
Yeah, because I want to talk about, because I want to go to the beginning. I want to go to the origin of your story. I want to start from, let's go to the beginning, at least the moment where it's just shaped everything. Okay. So you played Mother Nature in 4th grade.
Well, that's definitely one of them. Yeah. What a great story.
That was a dark and messy, and you walked off wearing a beautiful gown and a rose-colored glasses.
With rose-colored glasses.
Yes.
Mrs. Liebert. I will always remember my 4th grade teacher's name, Mrs. Liebert. It's pretty amazing, and I can see her face right now. And it's pretty incredible when life comes full circle. And I actually work at that elementary school every year. Mm-hmm. And when the polls come out, because I've decided to do that for the country. And I stare at this little stage when I go there, and it cracks me up. Because, I believe that, and a whole host of experiences at a very young age, I made a decision that I was choosing happiness. I had a lot going on. I had parents that were both divorced so I had siblings that were half siblings at a time back in 63, this didn't really happen much. I was in fact going to write a book then, and I did not. It probably would have been very popular today because it's so, prevalent. So interestingly enough, though, when I would walk out, I live in a building in Queens, New York. And when I walked out of the elevator, quite often my parents were really going at it. And I wanted to run away. I wanted to not walk into my household. But I would, and then I would hide, kind of in my room and create my little playful world. And I was the mediator in my family because I wanted everybody to be happy amongst the chaos that was going on between the divorces and all the other stuff that happens within divorce and relationship. And so I was that sunshine child. My parents literally called me that, which you can imagine put a little bit of pressure on me too. Mm-hmm. Yet at the same time, I was very rebellious because I kind of knew that I had it. It's like I was speaking a very different language back then when I was 8. I was also bullied. I was terribly bullied as a child. So I think it just formed me in a way mentally where I said, you know what? It's up to me. I mean, it's really up to me of how I'm going to think, how I'm going to feel, what I'm going to do next. And there have been a lot of times where I didn't read my gut. I didn't read that wizard. And I got myself and I fumbled and I felt, and then I reinvented. And this particular book came out 14 years ago. I wrote it. This is 14 years ago. And now it's finally coming to life with this incredible message that I believe is very poignant right now, Nyomi. Yeah.
So I want to go back to that point again. Because even though you share that, even in that moment, even those rose colored glasses, a lot of times when we say that, we know what that means. Is kind of glassing over that. And you being in fourth grade and you um, choosing to have joy or choosing your own perspective. Um, for you, what does that mean? Because even adults don't know what that means right now. Does that make sense?
What does that mean to choose your own perspective?
At
Is that your
yeah, yeah.
It's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
And what it means is giving yourself permission to feel and to think in a certain way that feels good to you. Okay. You're not trying to be someone else to make someone else happy. And you know that when you don't feel this certain way and you're not feeling good, whatever higher power you want to call it, I don't care what it is, that higher power, if you're feeling off or angry or any of these emotions that are kind of on the lower end of the emotional scale, if you want to call it,
Mhm.
that there's something going on. You're feeling off for a reason, and that reason can shift with
Yeah.
a thought. It could shift with a thought. That's
Yeah.
not up to mom. That's not up to dad. That's not up to your sibling. It's not up to anybody to do but you.
Yeah.
We have that power. And that's why power was my word. And that just
Wow.
came to me because we are that powerful. And, our brains are super powers, and we have the ability to really change our destination at
Yeah.
every moment, quite
Yeah.
frankly.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And why that? And honestly, that question just popped in my mind to even ask you that question. And it was like, oh my God, because I'm picturing you coming out of the elevator and you watching this happen. You watching this happen between your parents, but you even at a fourth grader understanding on what that means to choose you and choose your perspective. At 8 years old or whatever, a fourth grader, you're being influenced by your parents on what your thought or what it should be. You know what I'm saying? And so for you to have that emotional intelligence at that young of an age, that's the power behind it. So when you gave that answer of being powerful, the conversation, this just put the exclamation on it right from the beginning.
With two dots and a smiley face. That's my little thing that I do all the time when I put exclamation points. Pretty funny. Yeah.
So that right there is just so beautiful. And I promise this is something that I share with my listeners a lot of times. A lot of times, this is what I do. I say a prayer before every guest. And I always ask God to use me as a vessel. And sometimes in that moment when he is using me, when God is using me as a vessel, sometimes I black out, meaning that sometimes the questions that come, they're not even my questions.
Interesting.
So when I asked you that, I don't even remember what the question was. And I'm
That's awesome.
But I heard the answer. And as you were saying the answer, I saw powerful come up. And it just like, I said, oh yeah, there it is. And it just like, okay. All right, let me sit back and just allow this to unravel in front of me. Let's unravel and bask in this joy. And literally, honestly, even when we finish with this, and I'm going to tell the listener, even when we finish with this interview, we're going to have a little talk because I'm going to share something with you after this. And you're going to be like, oh my God, because I'm writing this down because I got a little brain fog too. So I'm going to write this down and share this story with Terry after we finish.
The beauty of life is that when we are aligned, there are so many synchronicities that happen. And I just sit there and I'm in awe. I have gratitude, appreciation, and awe. And this is what I go through every day. And I wake up in the morning kind of expecting it, right? We're going to expect really fun and wonderful things to happen. And it's like, bam, bam, bam. Not to say I don't have stuff that goes on. I'm taking care of a mom who's 91 years old. I promise you stuff goes on. So, it's just, how am I going to shift it? How am I going to, I learned something really great about dynamic of communication with mom, or that I can share with your audience with, if you'd like, which is, when they say read the room.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to read the people that you're about to speak with, right? So if that person, that whatever kind of environment that they're in, it's going to trigger them in some negative way, then guess what? Be really, truly cognizant of the conversation you're about to have with them.
Yes.
Because if it's a trigger in itself, they're going to just go off.
Yeah.
Well, guess whose responsibility that is? It's really ours.
Yes.
Read it. Read the room. So I realized that with my mom a couple of weeks ago about something that happened. And it took me a couple of weeks to kind of deep dive into it and reflect back and say, wait a second, where was my responsibility here?
Wow.
Right? What do I need to do differently? And that's kind of where I was at with that. But hopefully that will help some of your audience members too.
You know what? I thank you for sharing that, because may I piggyback off of that for a moment, because I want to share with my experience. I went back home for the holidays for Christmas. And I think I share with my audience already, but I share with you that I'm caring for my mom, 73 years old, that has dementia. And so we had went back home for her to spend time with her. We hadn't been back home for Christmas. Well, myself and my family haven't been back home for Christmas in over 20 years. And my mom, I think she's been with me for 14 years, but so she hadn't been back for about 12 years for Christmas. And so we promised them that we would bring her home for Christmas. And so a lot of them, they know she has dementia, but just to truly see it in real time is a different thing. And so her memory and her experience is her experience, and her story is her story. A lot of times people don't understand that. So her memory of a person is different from their experience with a person. So I literally watched three sisters. You can't say the three different three generation, maybe. Their experience with one person was three different ways. And they couldn't understand why my mother experience was one way, she's one of the oldest, she's number 2, and their experience with this person was different. And they was wondering why she held on to this experience like this, and they couldn't see it. And I watched this, and it was like, how y'all, and it was trying to, I'm reading the room. I have the whole Bible in my hand. Like y'all want the Bible to read it too.
Right. Exactly.
Y'all, because she can't read the Bible. She can't read the room, but y'all can read the room. Like, y'all want to read the room? And it felt like, oh my God. But then and I can laugh at it now. And I remember after that whole thing, I remember walking upstairs, and I remember sitting on the bed, and I remember, okay, this was a learning experience for me, because I needed to see this. I needed to see a different perspective of looking at this from three different ways. Three different ways, but it was three different healing components. Three different healing components from that. Not only from a place of dimension, but from a place of healing, a place of truth in your story, a place of reclaiming, and a place of shame. Yeah. And it was when I tell you, Terry, I was freaked out. I was like, wow. and so much. I was like, oh my, is this what this is? Like happened at one time. And so when you said that about reading the room, I said, yeah. And you shared that with me the other day, and I said, that's exactly what that is. That's exactly what it was.
Well, you know, when I mean, a lot of your audience, you know, they go away, whether it's to school or they get married and they come home or whatever it is, and they're going through their different experiences, and they come home a little bit different,
Yeah.
right? But typically, the siblings in our lives and the parents in our lives, they know us from what their experience is, right? Their need to have you react and be the same is where their comfort level is.
Mm-hmm.
They're almost not understanding the shift, right? But you see, we have the responsibility as individuals to react differently, right? So when things change and you react, guess what? You're going to get a different reaction. So, and it's funny, when I would walk in to my home sometimes, and this is even after I was away for a while, because I knew sometimes there would be a little bit of chaos. I would put on what I call emotional sunscreen.
Mm.
I would literally, physically wipe my hands before opening up the front door and it's almost like a meditation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's not even a minute, but it's just the practice of it where I felt that I was protecting myself, right? We can do that anywhere and everywhere in our lives, no matter where we are. You know, if we're feeling a little bit of fear and going into a new scenario, not only set up an intention of what you want that grouping to look like. It could be on Zoom. You're on a Zoom call. You've got, you know, I was just on one last night where there are 30 people in a room. I've never met any of them, you know, and we're going to do this kind of thing. You got to kind of go into these things with some intention, get yourself prepared like 5 minutes before, take a couple of breaths like you did with the beautiful meditation before, you know, that helps us to kind of ground ourselves again as we're going into these different experiences. So yet I feel like the thing that's brought me through more and more is just finding joy. There were birds that just flew by. Finding joy in everything and just everything. And, you know, and nature's a big, big thing in my life. And starting with our children is absolutely huge. Children really need us right now. I mean, we all need each other, no doubt.
We do. We do. We do. All right. Thank you for just sharing that. All right. So let's continue on in our thing. Right. So, you know, our theme for this year is all about reclaiming Unashamed and coming home to ourselves, to yourself with apology. And I'm curious, Terry, what does the phrase mean to you in this season of your life?
What does the
reclaim and unashamed?
Oh, that's
phrase
interesting.
to you
Well,
season?
you know, at this stage of my life, I've reinvented myself so many times that there have been times when I was almost afraid to tell people what I was doing next, Oh, this again? Oh, you're changing again? Oh, you're doing this again? Oh, it's not this, it's this. You know, when are you going to? And the funny thing is that there is a woman out there, she calls people like myself, who like to do multiple things, a multi-potentialite. And I thought that was a really cool, if you need a label, right? And all of us do. But that's not a bad one, right? So I think that, you know, here I am with a book coming out. I'm going to be starting in the next few months, if that, launching together with a whole consortium of coaches from all over the world to start helping people with their life choices, with their executive life choices, etc. Yet the book is like such a baby to me. It's a message, again, that I feel is so important right now. And I have such passion with it that that's truly going to be my focus. It's going to be my focus. So I think of the word abandonment, like I'm doing this with pure abandonment. This is it. This is it. This is my legacy. And I'm excited about it because, quite frankly, I don't have children of my own. So this is and I'm 4 years old inside. So in a way, I was speaking to my 4-year-old in this book.
Okay.
And I read it. when I reread it and when I started talking through these podcasts, and a friend of mine, interestingly enough, who I've known for 35 years, turned to me and said, Terry Bean, I didn't realize you went through so much when you were younger. Now I really understand this book and where it's coming from. By the way, she's the one who shed the light on that. I did not. I did not. I was thinking, oh, I remember writing this book 14 years ago and it being more about a situational with regard to some of the people around me that were more skeptics and this and that. And I didn't really come from that place, right? So, and I always knew that the world would be brighter and my experience were always better coming into a situation and just kind of thinking that it's going to work out, right? And not always doubting it or doubting myself, and building that self-esteem every single day by how we talk to ourselves. Yeah. Most important. That self-speak is absolutely imperative. The minute you wake up in the morning, that's part of my coloring book. The coloring book has different areas where kids and people can actually write down those words that empower them to have a fantastic day. Right? Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You know what? This is my next question for you. Because you're someone who practices optimism, right? And you look at the world through rose-colored glasses. But I also know that you've been through some real things, loss and uncertainty, and you know, you are what we're going to call the queen of reinvention, reinventing of yourself. So here's my question: how do you practice optimism without ignoring real pain on hard days, or how do you hold joy and grief at the same time? Because we have to honor both.
So it's a matter of focus, right? So, and it's a matter of how long are you going to choose to stay in that place of pain? Yeah. So yes, there's pain, could be daily, right? With some, whether it's physical pain, whether it's mental pain, whether it's someone inflicting it, etc. No, there's not ignoring it, right? It's there, but what kind of frame are you going to put it in? There's always some kind of a gift, interestingly enough. There really is. Yeah. When you look at things hard enough and you choose to see the gift or create the gift. Yes. Right? And how long are you going to stay in that pain? Now, I used to be a queen of drama. When I was younger, with all this stuff going on, even though I was pretty happy, there was drama. There was just always drama. And that in itself, I held on. Drama, people who are into drama, typically they're holding on to stuff that's going on. Yeah. That's what's causing the drama, right? And they keep repeating it over and over and over again. And as we repeat it over and over again, guess what? More of it's going to come to us. More and more is going to come to us. So how quick are you able to now let go of it? Let go, focus elsewhere. Let go pet your dog. Let go grab your cat. Let go out into nature. Yeah. Let go and go have a great session of sex. Whatever it is, right? To kind of reframe and reconnect to yourself, to the place of joy, because that's what we're here for. We're here to be loving to ourselves and to others and kind. Yeah. Period.
Yeah. I like that. I like that answer. Thank you. All right. So let's talk about that mantra. Everything is always working out right for me. Always. Everything is always working out for me. And I love that. But I also know that belief doesn't just appear. You have to build it. You have to practice it, especially when life feels chaotic. So Terry, how did you build that belief? And how can someone listening right now borrow it? How can they borrow? Can I borrow it for a moment when their life feels like it is just falling apart? I always say faith over fear. That's one big thing that I tell, especially my aunts who call themselves praying and walking around with the Bible. Say faith over fear, and I scream that to my ears. But, with your mantra, how do you build that belief?
So it's really one thought at a time, right? So as Esther Hicks would say, and, Joe Dispenza and some of those wonderful people out there who really get deep into the personal development work that I've done from pretty much my whole life. It is one thought at a time, and a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So when you really get that a belief is just a thought you keep thinking, you realize how imperative it is to get a hold of what we are saying to ourselves, how we are setting up our day, what are we thinking? How are we feeling when we feel that, when we think that thought? How are we feeling when we make that choice, right? So that's very much what Abracadabra is all about, is let's feel into our wizard, and our wizard will let us know, right? Does it really feel good to think that way or not? And if not, either shut it down, right? Or think of something else.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people, I believe, get into no thought. No thought, meaning when you do meditate and such, they literally have no thought. They get to a point where they train themselves to have no thought. It's a pretty beautiful place to be. Or you pretty much have one thought or just a few thoughts. That's kind of how I walk around through my day. I really have a few thoughts. I'm not all over the place. Now, I have so much on my list I can't even tell you. It's kind of overwhelming right now a little bit to me. But again, that is up to me to decide, all right, how am I going to frame this? Right. Is it super overwhelming that I can't get my calendar together and it's the beginning of July and I'm January 2026 and I'm flipping out because I know how busy it's going to get for me very shortly? Or can I just take a breath? Breathing is really important. And I love the breath work, Nyomi, that you did in the beginning. It's fantastic. I do something called a 4-7-8. Your nose, yes. I see that smile. Yeah, it's just breathing is really, really important. And sometimes you can sense it, like when you're shallow, then take a moment. We all deserve those moments through the day. And I think a lot of us are juggling so much, and I get it. And I get how tough it could be, whether we're on the other side like you and I are, and, claiming our parents and taking care of them and doing all these things that really can add, I should say, to the overwhelmment. But again, I don't know. How do you want to see it? How do you want to feel about things? For me, life is truly supposed to be fun, right? So anything that I look at it that way. That's, by the way, an Esther Hicks thing. It's in my book. But it's her remark that life is supposed to be fun. And when I heard that years and years ago, I said, oh, yeah. I remember when I was 25 years old. I'll never forget when I hit 25. And of course, I had a little bit. I was with my friends and I'm screaming out, I love my friends. I love my friends, And then I also said, I love being an adult because I could do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it. And I got into that kind of fun place about it, instead of this overwhelming, oh shit, now I'm an adult. Now I'm going to have all this responsibility. And we sometimes put that on our kids, right? You can't be joking around. You better stay serious. You better be serious. Oh, come on. To reconnect with our child within and allow ourselves as adults to start being silly and having fun. Yeah, there's time to get silly. I mean, serious. There's times when you may want to, but come on. Life is not meant to be that serious. It is. We are meant to love, to be kind, and to have fun. And that's my mantra pretty much every day too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you. And I just wrote something down that you said, and it's just so simple. It's so simple. It is so simple. How do you want to see it? This is what you said. How do you want to see it? How do you want to see your life?
Yeah.
It's just that simple. How do you want to see it?
Yeah. So if we don't love the story that we're in, because guess what? We're in our own movies.
Exactly.
Okay? We're in our own movies. We don't like the story, change the narrative. Start to rewrite how you want to feel, what you want to do, what you want to create, how you want to be, the person that you want to meet, whatever it is, and start to look at that, dream about it, visualize it, have fun with it, yet don't necessarily be attached to it.
Yeah.
So if you expect it without being attached, magic, I am telling you, magic it's unbelievable how the universe will meet you every time, just meet you. And even if it doesn't meet you based on what you think could happen, it's something else that is truly special that all of a sudden builds on to something else. That's
what should happen. Because sometimes what we think that it should, sometimes it's not. So for me, I say that, and I'm laughing at it right now. I say that when you see the name Nyomi&x, it's right next to the word transformation. Because if you Google Nyomi&x, it used to say porn star, but it says a whole bunch of other stuff that's so amazing. You understand what I'm saying? That it's like, it's like, and she did so such and such. Right. I live by this. I said, you can't judge a book by its cover. You have to take the time to read the pages in the book.
Brilliant.
And I've been saying that ever since I was a little girl, not knowing that I will be in this very moment sitting on this stage, reinventing myself several different times. So it's so amazing when I read your bio, and so I was like, oh no, I have to have Miss Terry Bean on here. Like, oh my God, I have to have her on. And then when we sat and we talked on last Friday, I said, oh my God, it's like this is mirror. This is mirror for me. I can't see her, but this is mirror for me.
That was so fun. That was so funny.
It was. But what it's done for me is that it's showing me not only myself in a light that I need, but it's also showing me that, she's been through that too. Not exactly like you've been through, but she's been through that as well. And she's changed. So your story of changing directions in so many different ways is not a one story. You know what I'm saying? It's not a one story. So when you said about the being unashamed of telling someone that, oh, I'm doing this again, I was the same way. I'm what I call a serial entrepreneur.
Yes,
so many different businesses, and you doing that again, girl. We ain't gonna get to a 9 to 5. I hated the 9 to 5. I don't like working for anybody, and people will look at you like they're crazy, but I figured no one understands me.
Exactly. It's funny because a couple of things are coming to me. First of all, you had that saying that you said since you were a little child. I had at the age of 15, I knew that perspective. I would always say perception is everything. And that was when I was little. Now I am so very clear that our perspective is everything. So when I say seeing it, it's really perspective. What's your perspective? Does it feel good or doesn't it? It is that simple, right? So that's one thing that came to me. Now I have to remember the other one. Hold on. Oh my God. I was thinking of, oh no. You were talking about go ahead. It's you. It's on you. I'm giving it up to you. It will come to me.
Okay.
This happens.
It happens because I'm over here with brain fog all day, every day, every day, and I'm trying to get like a hold of it. I'm trying to reel it in. It's so funny because I just give me a moment, y'all. I have a story where I'm trying to find the words, and so it's like I have this picture in my mind. I'm like, is that the word? And like,
I need to grab it, please. Yes, I get it so loud and clear.
Grab it like that, and so I just like, oh, okay, that's what that is, and I just move on from that. But here's another question for me. So, you reinvented yourself multiple times, from property management to real estate, online businesses, coaching, and now the children's book author. And I know firsthand that it takes a lot of courage to do that, and it takes resilience. It really does. But I think it also take a specific skill set as well as courage. So here's my question to you. What is that inner skill that makes to reinvention possible? What do you have inside of you that allows you to start over?
Well, thank you so much, because you brought me to what the thought was. There's two things. One is what I like to call other people's thoughts, right? OPT. I call it OPT. Mm-hmm. And I said, as I've lived through my life, I've said, you know what? I can't give a shit about what other people think. I hope I can curse. I am a Queens girl, by the way. So I can't, it's just not, it has to be one of the voices in my head that's truly the lowest voice, right? It's not about what other people think. It's about where I'm going and the belief I have in myself, right? Which will limit the doubt. Doubt is a killer.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're going to go forward with a project, feel into that project. See if that project feels good to you, right? And then start, taking little steps and little actions. This book, being that it was written 14 years ago, I always knew. I just knew it wasn't the right time. The timing wasn't there.
Yeah.
And what's very interesting about it is back in November, I reached out to my Facebook community to see if anybody knew of an illustrator, right? For the book, because it's a picture book, right? It's about 39 pages. And the illustrations are absolutely beautiful. But what happened is I got slammed in November of 2024 with all of these people, phone calls, because I was stupid enough to have my phone number on my Facebook. I just got slammed. And what I did was I shut it down, because guess what? It didn't feel like the right time. I got overwhelmed and I just shut it down. What happened in March of 2025 is when I went on my journey with Mind Valley and getting my life coaching certification. You surround yourself by support. You surround yourself by people who aren't going to doubt your next steps, right? Who are going to be there for you. That's very, very important in the equation for success, right? And then I said, you know what? I'm going to go to Fiverr. And I'm just going to look up someone, and here I am on Fiverr, and it's that platform where you can, get people to do so many different things and hire them for a job or a task. And here I saw this woman, kidsbookart.com, and I'm sitting and I decided to have an interview with her. And when I did, she brought this guy on. And of course, I felt it immediately. I was kind of put off. I wasn't expecting him. Who are you? This kind of thing. And then I again stopped for a second, and I talked to myself while I'm literally on the Zoom with them, and I'm saying, do I want to give these kids a shot? Do I just want to, I'll throw them $53 or whatever it is. and I'll tell them the story and tell them what my vision is for the cover, and let's see what they can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my friend, the cover that you see now, which if you don't mind me bringing it out, you see now is the cover that they created, which is called Abracadabra.
Oh, that's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
So you can see how Danny is looking at her reflection. That reflection, after she's running away from her parents crying because they're fighting, goes down the lake, sees her reflection, finds a branch that she makes into and carves out into a wand that she carries with her through her life.
Mm-hmm.
And the reflection becomes her sage and is now talking to her about her power within her and how she can keep happy. And my vision, Nyomi, is to get this message out so children truly understand that they do have the power within them to create beautiful lives. And if they create beautiful lives, guess what? They're going to grow into, typically, kinder adults who will be more connected to themselves and others around them.
Yes.
That, my friend, is my vision with this book. And I'm asking any and everybody who are in touch with children or parents or anything to really come on board, the bean team, as I like to call it, and let's start trying to, look to change the world. We're living in a very funky world right now, and we have the ability to change it one person at a time and one child at a time. And that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah. I love that. I love the whole story, or even how you just brought it to an end, because I had some more questions for you, but you just wrapped it on around for me and brought it to the end for me right there. I think it's amazing for you to even create that book, but to create it 14 years ago to where it's even more prevalent now, even more prevalent now, to even put onto that is that's the reason why I thought about the season of self-love, is because it's about us having an intimate relationship with ourselves. And one of the reasons why I created that, because I have 3 daughters. I have 3 daughters and I have a granddaughter. And my thing is about foundation. We have to start at the foundation.
Yeah.
If we can start with our foundation, is teaching us on how to love ourselves, then we can help our children on how to love themselves. And then when they go out there and meet someone else's child, then we can create good human beings. you understand what I'm saying? I love that about your book, is teaching them about the magic that they have within themselves, because we're not taught that. We're taught to look outside of ourselves for something else, rather than look for what's in us.
Yeah. It really is about, and the book touches upon this, about trusting. Trusting yourself. I don't use the word trust, interestingly enough, just like I don't use the word mantra, because these are learning times for the parent and for the teacher, when I'm going into schools and such, to actually teach a child. But Jay, my illustrator, more than the gal, by the way, the gal actually decided she wasn't feeling well. She just got ill, and I worked with Junaid Adi. And I have to tell you something. I gave him a huge task in July, and I said, Jay, I need 15 illustrations in 1 month. Can you make it happen? Mm-hmm. He was the visual arts director of kidsbookart.com. And he said to me, Terry, I have to tell you, I would not take this on if I did not read the book and think and was so inspired by it. It's the most inspirational child's book I've ever read. And he said, and if I had the book before I was the age of 18, I wouldn't have gone through the crap I went through. He said that. I just got chills and said, oh, I know this is going to make an impact. And then his illustrations are just so beautiful that I'm hoping that our energy, we cried, we laughed, Nyomi. We just had an amazing journey with this book, that I'm really hoping that people sense that when they read it and read it to their children. And my goal in some ways, which is really funny because I probably won't be here, but is that in 30 years from now, right, when a little kid has read the book and they've left all their crap in the garage and the parents' house and the attic and everything, they go back at the age of 30 and turn to their parents and go, Mom, Dad, do you remember where that book Abracadabra is? Because it impacted them so much that they want to share it and they want to read it again or read it to their own children. Yeah. That's truly it.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I love that so much. You know what? I'm looking at our time, and we are coming to our time, and I only got half of my questions.
Well, I talk a lot.
No,
I am a New Yorker. But you know what's great about this? We can do this again.
Yes, we can. Yes.
And I hope to be invited back. That would be lovely. And you know, I'll share with your audience, if you don't mind, you know, where the book's coming out in a couple of weeks for purchase with links and such. And they could go to terrybeanauthor.com. For the book, and they'll see the coloring book there too, and the links will be there in a couple of weeks. And the other thing is, if they want to get in touch with me, I'm at info@terrybeanauthor.com. Please, you know, get in touch with me anytime.
Well, all right. She just go right down. I got me a whole little script here. She just went on past my little script. No, but again, seriously, thank you. So, and you know, I would definitely love to have you back because we can talk about so many different things. So many different things. You know what, my beautiful people, I thank you all for just sharing this moment with myself and Terry being right here. And if you feel like that you have that beautiful inner wizard in yourself and you want to share this story with somebody, you know, somebody who looks at the world through, you know, rose-colored glasses as well, share it. Share it with someone who needs to remember. Share it with someone who's forgotten their inner wizard. And before we go, I want to leave you with our 2 questions for the season. 1, what are you reclaiming? Is it your joy? Is it your optimism? Is it your belief that everything is working out for you? And your second question, what are you unashamed of? Your reinvention, your hard days, your messy, or your beautiful journey? I want you to sit with those questions this week. I want you to journal about it and speak them out loud because your magic matters, your story matters, and your joy is your superpower. So until next time, my beautiful souls, keep choosing you, keep choosing love, and keep remembering the magic within. This is your girl, the goddess, Nyomi&x, and you've been listening to this season of self-love. Have an amazing, amazing Wednesday. Have a good one. Thank you so much for joining me today on this journey of intentional healing. I hope that this conversation has filled your cup and reminded you of the beautiful and worthy person that you are. I want you to remember, healing isn't about rushing. It's about showing up for yourself with love and intention, one day at a time. So I'll see you back here Monday and Wednesday for another episode of the Season of Healing Intentionally, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast. So until then, keep choosing you. And visit us at the seasonofselflovepodcast.com for show notes and resources. And remember to connect with me on Instagram at The Real Nyomi&x. This has been brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, because your healing matters. You are loved, you are worthy, and you are exactly where you need to be. Take care.